Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has landed in Vizag. INS Aridhaman will be commissioned today. NDTV, if you remember, broke the story on the 20th of February. India's third nuclear ballistic missile submarine, INS Aridhaman, is going to be commissioned today, is what we can confirm now. We had broken this news sometime back in February, and now that confirmation has come through. Shiv Arur, Managing Editor, NDTV 24/7, joins me live. Shiv, it's a story that we had broken about 2 months back. This is a big commissioning happening as we speak.
Very, very crucial commissioning, Vedika. And, you know, in the best traditions of India's defense forces, they're doing it quite, surreptitiously. It so happens that the Indian Navy is also commissioning a normal, conventional warship called the INS Taragiri today in Visakhapatnam. But quietly, just a few kilometers away, is a far more formidable platform that is being commissioned, and Rajnath Singh, our defense minister, actually put out a very cryptic tweet saying Aridhaman, a tweet in Hindi naming Aridhaman, which is probably the closest that we will ever get to any kind of an official announcement of the commissioning of a nuclear powered platform. Now, the INS Aridhaman, the pictures we have on our screen are archival photos of the big brother of the Aridhaman, which is INS Arihant, which is the first ship of its class, which was commissioned quite some years ago. Now, the INS Aridhaman is the most advanced third version of the Arihant class of Indian-built, Indian-designed nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. In very simple terms, Vedika, this is simply India's most powerful defense platform ever built. This is a nuclear submarine that has nearly limitless endurance to stay underwater. It wields, multiple missiles called the K4, which are nuclear tipped and have a range of up to 3,500 kilometers. I don't need to tell you where all that can reach. That covers practically all of China and, all of India's areas of adversarial interest, I would say. This is a ship that is a submarine that is about 75 to 80% indigenous. There are some components which we've taken Russian help with, but 80% indigenous content means this is basically a Desi nuclear submarine. And it's a very, very proud day. These things have happened in the shadows, and Rajnath Singh being there obviously is very fitting because this is a strategic weapon. It's very important in these times of warfare, Vedika, to understand that the Aridhaman, like its two big brothers, Arighat and Arihant, they're not conventional weapons of warfare. These are weapons of mass destruction. If the entire point of owning platforms like the Aridhaman is that you never have to use them. The whole point of having such weapons is your enemies should be so fearful of what the retaliation using these weapons can be that they will never dare to touch you. That's what nuclear deterrence is all about.
So then let me ask you this, Shiv.
It's amazing.
Yes, let me ask you this. Is this more about deterrent stability, Shiv, or power projection, or both?
Both, very much both, and I think that's a very legitimate question you asked because power projection is important. If your enemy doesn't know you have something, then what's the point? And I think that goes to what Rajnath Singh actually said in his tweet when he put that out. It was a very gentle, subtle kind of power projection, saying, look, I'm not allowed to announce it, but Aridhaman is entering service today. And having these 3 submarines is important in terms of deterrence because 3 submarines is a big deal. When you have 1 submarine, Vedika, it's a little precarious because remember, these submarines need a lot of maintenance. They need to come back to dock, for refit and repairs, etc. When you have 3 submarines, you've got a huge amount of flexibility.
Yes,
for the first time now, you can have 2 submarines out at sea, 1 in refit, 1 in repairs maybe, and 1 permanently out at sea on rotation, which means India finally has a 365 days a year sea-based nuclear deterrent. And let me say, unlike the land-based and the air-based deterrent, which is your Rafales and your Mirages or your Agni land-based missiles, your sea-based is the most secretive and it's the most stealthy because nobody knows where these submarines are. They lurk unseen for months, probably even years together on sea patrol, limited only by the endurance of their human crew. So this is a huge achievement and a big, big step for India's nuclear deterrent.
All right, Shiv.